thought poverty was meant for black people. White folks thought 70% of black people are the beneficiaries of DEI. And now they are finding out reality after the Honorable Orange Man decided that, okay, since it's black people that are literally just enjoying it, he didn't say it directly, but there are things he said indirectly that at the end of the day, that the people that he is actually talking to are black folks. Okay, since they are the one enjoying it literally, can we just cut it off? Can we just shut it down? Can we just reduce it? Now they are finding out reality that they can no longer go to schools as white folks. They can no longer enjoy what they enjoyed before because 70% of them rely deeply on DEI. They rely deeply on welfare. They rely deeply on support system. I want you guys to watch this around and find out videos. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credit belongs to the original creator of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. With that being said, let's watch. I'll be back with countries.
Got rid of DEI, and now less white men are going to school. Interesting. Reason why this is happening. When you get rid of DEI, you get rid of access programs into college and graduate programs as well, right? More women are going to school. Okay, the girls want to go to school, they want to get their education, they want to be smarticle particle, okay? Less men are going to school. Not because more women are going to school, but they're just not going to school as much, okay? Which typically happens when things become female dominated. Men are like, oh, school's not important all of a sudden. So what they do is they need the ratios for the classrooms to be the same. Like 5 or 6, right, of men and women. So what they'll do is in these certain programs that foster relationships such as first-gen students, students from certain areas, rural areas where they don't really have education programs, they'll reach out to them to bring them into college programs to help them get into school, right? To equalize these programs. And programs also are there to equalize the numbers of men and women. So they'll accept more men because they're trying to keep the numbers equal. But when you get rid of them, do the math. What they didn't account for when they pulled that back affirmative action was how when you pull back affirmative action, you pull back DEI, the girls are still going to go to school. The people of color are still going to go to school. But the men are not. Less of them will. These programs actually are there to pull them into school, okay? To make it look attractive. We pull back the programs, like the nonprofit organizations, the after-school programs that support people going to school. I worked for a nonprofit called College Possible that directly got removed because of the current administration that worked for children or high school students to get into college and to stay into college. DEI does not include just black people, and I don't think they understood that. It also includes people with disabilities. It also includes people from different backgrounds who are poor. It includes so many different kinds of people. It's focused so much on being racist that they missed out and realized, oh my gosh, this benefits us too. So now, next year's enrollment, they looked at it. Less white men are going to school. Less of them are going to be applying. Less of them are going to be having access because of this. Because you guys got rid of this stuff. I might call this karma. I call it math, numbers, and using your brain. If you look at projections for the future, if you think about who these are predominantly for, I'm not saying a lot of these programs aren't for people of color, immigrants, and women, because they are, but there are still a quarter of people who are, this is for.
DEI policies were actively displacing white men, we would see their absolute numbers decline. But we don't. Probably heard the headline already that DEI policies are crushing white male college enrollment. Where are all these sources even getting their data? Because fall 2025 data is not even available yet. It's only fall 2024. Let's just fact check these with actual IPEDS data. Here's the reality. Fall enrollment for white males grew from 3.2 million students in 2022 to over 4.2 in 2024. That's not a decrease. That's a 31% increase in just raw headcount. The percentage that folks are trying to hype up is the drop in the first-time enrollment from 20.8 in 2022 to 19.2 in 2024. And the drop for white people in general going to college from 47% in 2022 to 44% in 2024. But the percentage for white males has stayed the same at 44%. Colleges just accepted more people in 2024, not because white men were being turned away. In just sheer absolute numbers, colleges admitted more white men in 2024, but proportionally more women, black folks, Hispanics, Native Americans, and biracial people like me also enrolled. So everybody's numbers are going up. Other groups are just going up faster. And that's what I call diversity growth, not displacement. First-time enrollment for white females is up from 79.2% in 2022 to 80.8% in 2024. First-time enrollment for Hispanics was 23% in 2022, and now it's 25% in 2024. First-time enrollment for blacks was 12.5% in 2022, and now it's 14.3% in 2024. Education in America is not a zero-sum game where one group's gain is another's loss. College education, we know, is tied to just a better quality of life, better jobs, better health outcomes. All of this is literally basic math. College enrollment jumped from 15.9 million in 2022 to 21.9 million in 2024. That's not discrimination against white men. That's the math of inclusive growth. What it really looks like is this anti-DEI movement has only motivated more people to go to college. So we really need to ask the question, with Congress cutting the availability of loans for colleges, who are they really trying to hurt? This is why science doesn't need you to believe in it. It just needs you to freaking participate. So please, just go to college.
My 2 cents on the white male enrollment rate at colleges decreasing since the eradication of DEI programs across the country is that unfortunately, a lot of young people, young men especially, are being told that institutions like colleges are indoctrinating them. They don't matter. Degrees don't matter unless they're only 4 specific degrees. Yeah, they're not going to go. Especially when people are being told that, all of these black people are getting in just because they're black. And while that's asinine, it begs the question, you don't even care about the institutions that you claim are doing this anyway. So it's almost like you keep hitting it on 2 sides. All these black people are getting into Harvard, Yale, Brown, all these great institutions because they're black. And also they're crappy institutions anyway, so it doesn't matter. They're indoctrinating people. It's like you make it seem as though it's this thing that warrants merit, but you claim that the merit that it has isn't even enough for your liking. So in reality, do you really care, or are you just saying stuff just to say it? Everything that has been mentioned with DEI just comes from a place of severe insecurity. And it comes from a place of this tepid and washed up perspective that people aren't deserving of something like an education, no matter where they go. Because it's these schools are indoctrinating students and the college degree doesn't even matter anyway. You don't even care. A lot of people, they don't even care. All the people who are applauding DEI being canceled all across the country, if we just sit back for a moment, they don't care. What DEI was supposed to do was ensure that there was more equitable and inclusive and diverse places, and that there was intention behind recruiting students that are in areas that normally schools wouldn't even go to try to get students in different areas and locations, et cetera, which could be a benefit for everybody. Not even speaking of race, just speaking of class. It could be a benefit for so many. And instead, they made it only a race thing, painted it only as it was just black folks and brown folks. And look here, it's strange to me, for the group that had been fighting so hard tooth and nail for this, you have gotten pretty much everything you wanted, and still you didn't rise to the occasion, because you still believe that the institutions that you claim are doing wrong are already inherently flawed anyway. You already don't like them. You don't have any appreciation or respect. You don't believe in its worth. So it's just strange to me. It's just strange to me that these folks have just left it all out there and they've got nothing in return for it. I don't believe they're going to get much, unfortunately for them.
All right, racists.
You better think about what you're saying. You better think about the consequences of your actions. You better think.
have a little chit-chat about your latest update. So the white menses aren't getting accepted into college, I hear. In fact, the double-digit drop of white male enrollment is the lowest of any demographic. Ever. You're hitting historic lows not seen in decades. No wonder you guys wanted to end the requirement for a college degree, because you're clearly falling below the metrics of getting accepted into these universities. And now your dumbass actions from your lame DEI rollbacks only hurt you, once again, white men. It's the type of karma that comedy shows are written after. Is this the reason why you've been scrambling? Looking for someone to blame? For a conspiracy to explain why you can't get in the door? There is no conspiracy. There is no sophisticated foreign plot. There is only truth that you spent centuries running from, coming to bite you right in the ass. That in an equal playing field, whites simply cannot qualify. All the noise about DEI was never about helping anyone else. It was a life raft for a drowning race. It was the cultural and institutional padding that kept you in the game. When the raw number said you should have been on the bench, you started crying and called it unfair when the playing field was leveled. Because a level field revealed that you weren't the star athletes you believed yourselves to be. You were just the guys who have been paying the referee under the table to manipulate wins. And I'm sure that you pathetic people will scream that this is an attack. You have to. The alternative is too devastating for your entire identity. To admit that you're failing on merit is to admit to the core lie of its civilization. That you were never great because of intellect or because whites had higher IQs. Which is a bold-faced lie because you people are literally idiots. You just wrote the rules to exclude the people who are actually superior. And then you gave your illiterate kids participation trophies. Now the rules are fairer, and you're losing. Not because the goalposts were moved, because you never learned how to play ball in the first place. This is your reality. It always has been. The curtain's just been pulled back and you're standing there on a stage built for giants, looking very, very small.
Article talks about how Trump's attack on DEI is actually hurting college men because apparently way more women are getting into universities and doing better in school, and now men are not able to have the DEI that many colleges were doing to create a 50-50 mix. So it's especially for colleges like Brown and like really highly competitive colleges, these men are now not getting in when they would have before. Now, for example, Brown University attracted nearly 50,000 applicants last year, and apparently only 1,700 freshman seats exist. So when male students were able to get the DEI, that meant that 7% of the male applicants were let in, whereas 4.4% of female applicants were let in. But the Trump administration's policies are putting an end to that.
You guys, this is actually so hilarious. Trump's ban on DEI is going to make it harder for white men specifically to get into college. Add this to the list of evidence that we are all inside of some type of collective coma, because I don't think that real life could be this ironic. Last year, Brown University accepted nearly equal numbers of male and female students, although it got nearly twice as many female applicants. The math meant it was easier for men to get in. But when they try to level the playing field by banning DEI, it would mean that they wouldn't be concerned about trying to let in equal numbers of men and women. And if 40% more women than men are applying to and enrolling in college, then what are they going to do about it? DEI was helping to keep an equal number of men enrolled in college in the United States. I'm not sure what Project 2025 can do about the epidemic of men just giving up. Even if they manage to put women all the way back into cages, I don't know that that's going to fix it. Good luck, you guys.
So let me see if I get this right. Y'all strip DEI initiatives from schools. Things that will help the enrollment of more minorities and women in hopes to, I'm assuming, get more white men into college. Only to see the biggest drop in enrollment in white men.
We live in a meritocracy. I mean, we like to pretend that we do, but we don't. We have a meritocratic ideology, but if you actually look at what's going on, there's so much research evidence that suggests that because we think we live in a meritocracy, then any effort to level the playing field, to actually make sure that people who are equally talented get.
This is what it is at the end of the day, right? Women of color are going to go to school no matter what it is, right? Whatever you put in front of them, they're going to still go because they know that this is the safest route to accessibility, to mobility, financially. Okay. You know what I'm saying? It's the safest, not safe route. Okay. White men, white women are not going to go to school as much due to the fact that once you remove DEI, right? DEI supported so many other programs that made it easier for certain groups to be able to be added into the administration of enrollment process because they wanted balance. They wanted the boys and the girls to be even because they know the boys are not coming into school like that, and a lot of them aren't using going towards education to further their education. They gotta have these programs to go into these rural towns, rural cities. You know what I'm saying? Have these programs to connect them into schools and getting into college, right? Now that the DEI is gone, right? All of these things are gone now. So meaning that, right, veterans who used to get like priority job placement, priority graduate placement, priority, and to get into Ivy League schools, Stanford, Harvard, Brown, whatnot. Done. Out of here. That's over and with, right? All of these girls who used to be able to get a ride because they were going to go into these civil positions, meaning social workers, teachers, whatnot, gone. Those programs that would have helped you pay for your schooling and student debt if you work as a civil position, gone. Like, all these things are gone due to the fact that y'all wanted to get rid of DEI, and now that the numbers are coming out that Asians are not being accepted and enrolled into college even less than the numbers that they were crying about before, white men are going even further down on their numbers on the acceptance into enrollment, and it's not surprising at all. Y'all were trying our best to try to put women in the kitchen and being barefoot and pregnant, and what y'all really did is expose the fact that a lot of you guys were mediocre and being led into higher education just to keep the numbers.
What DEI plot twist for you? The biggest enrollment drops right now in colleges are not happening amongst people of color or women. They are happening amongst white male students. Across the country, campuses are reporting sharp declines in male applicants, especially first-gen and lower-income young men. The numbers coming out of Brown, for example, they make this pattern impossible to ignore. So for years, Brown's applicant pool massively skewed female. One recent cycle was around 62% women and 37% men, but the accepted class was almost perfectly 50-50. Why is that? Because men are being admitted at higher rates, roughly 6.7 to 6.9% for men versus 4 to 4.2% for women. Colleges are quietly gender balancing to keep classes even, and that practice overwhelmingly benefits men across the country. But when the current administration tore down DEI offices and pressured institutions to end anything resembling identity-based considerations, that scaffolding disappeared. It's not just for women, it's not just for students of color, for everyone, including the very same men who had been benefiting from gender balancing policies. And here is the kicker. DEI offices do not just run cultural events, they handle outreach, first-gen support, application guidance, scholarship pipelines, the behind-the-scenes infrastructure that helps students of any background navigate a confusing admission system. And when you rip that out overnight, the system becomes less clear, less supportive, and less accessible, especially for students who don't have inherited knowledge about how college works. So now, applications for men, including white men, are dropping the fastest, not because they're being replaced like they'd have you believe, but because the programs that once helped them too are dismantled under the assumption that they only helped people of color and women, which was wrong. This moment proves something really simple. Access is infrastructure, and when you destroy the infrastructure, the ripple hits every corner of the classroom, every corner of society, even the corners people assume are the safest. Or maybe it's just some type of karma, I don't know. But until next time, y'all.
Mr. Black again. And if you're here, you're part of the underground. So today, we've watched this administration stoop to a new low. Before any evidence has been gathered about what occurred last night with the plane, with the Black Hawk aircraft and the American airline, he has now said it is a DEI situation and blamed blames it on the previous administration. So, if you're confused, I can tell you what DEI means. DEI means that any educated minority or special interest group who has worked their way through, has the grades and the experience, should not be eligible. These positions should be reserved for mediocre white men. So I'll tell you, for instance, myself. In my master's degree, I have a 4.0, and I have over 20 years of experience. But there is a white man with a high school diploma who this administration feels is better suited for my position. That's what DEI means in this administration.
Well, would you look at that? Trump's DEI is causing an impact on white men. I wonder why that is. So you mean to tell me that DEI was helping to make sure that enough men were able to get into college because they made caps on the gender so that way it could be even? So are you telling me that white men benefit from DEI? So you're telling me that that everything about merit doesn't include white men? Is that what you're saying? Oh. And who was surprised at this data?
If you have this belief that because there is no DEI, black people or people of color or people in the alphabet community or those who are disabled, dwarves, whoever you believe is no longer going to be employable or get employed because of DEI, I would say, do you really think that lowly of these individuals? Let's take black people, for example. Do you really think so lowly about black people that the only way you believe they can get a job, an opportunity, is for them to create special programs? I'm so serious right now. If you believe that black people can only get jobs if there is affirmative action or DEI, whatever label you want to slap on it, then you do not think so highly of black folks. And this goes for whether you're black or not. If you think the only way you can get an opportunity, let's say you run a business, the only way you're going to get clientele is if the government forces people to have X percentage of its business be black-owned business, right? There's this law that was saying 5% of business have to come from black truckers. Do you believe so little in black trucking businesses that only 5%? 5%? How about instead of forcing, let us incentivize excellence, right? Let us reward those who do the very best job, because that's what the marketplace does. And that's something I've gotten to experience within my own life and those around me who look just like me. It's to say, if you have products or services that are superior to others around you, you're going to get the business. Simple as that. Now, if you're too busy complaining, you're too busy crying about the discrepancies or so-called oppression, then you will forever find yourself drained of the necessary energy that it takes to actually build anything worthwhile. But if you're looking to build your life up, to make something of yourself, then give that very same energy to something constructive. There is opportunity enough for everybody out here. And if you are able to create something, build something, or offer up your skills at a better or a higher level that makes it worthwhile for an employer to bring you onto a team. Look, the people who don't get fired are the people who are too damn good to not get fired. Straight up. Unless a company just closes down. If you are the top tier salesperson at that company, it doesn't matter if you are green. they're going to make sure that you got a job.
Look at corporate America rolling back their DEI programs as if it wasn't the tool to correct 4 centuries of racial nepotism back when DEI stood for dollars for European immigrants. And by definition, those whites didn't earn it. Don't pretend like you'd have been down with Dr. King if you hate DEI, because all it does is state in the positive what the Civil Rights Act of 1964 stated in the negative. In other words, if the 64 Civil Rights Act outlaws discrimination based on race, color, creed, religion, sexual orientation, to state it in the positive, the opposite of exclusion is inclusion based on all of the things that you would never look for since the beginning of America. Fox News taught you to hate a straw man of DEI that ain't got nothing to do with us being hooked on race. Nuh-uh, that was your ancestors. So hooked, in fact, that they codified it into law. So here's a refresher course of the laws that was meant to only benefit and enrich white folks. Maryland Doctrine of Exclusion, 1638, said that no black shall benefit from the fruits of white society. The Naturalization Act of 1790 said only white immigrants could be naturalized as citizens. The Indian Removal Act of 1830 gave white settlers eminent domain over indigenous land, even the land that was promised to them under treaties. 375 treaties were broken to benefit white people. Dred Scott decision of 1857 said that no black man had any rights that a white man had to respect, including the right to property. The Homesteading Act of 1862 gave 1/10 of America's landmass, newly conquered from Native Americans to European settlers for pennies on the dollar. There are still 40 million people, white folks, alive today who benefited from the Homesteading Act. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 said that no Chinese person had any legal rights above a white person's dispute, among other things, that dispossessed Chinese folks of their land, Chinatowns burnt to the ground by the hundreds. And we even got to the Jim Crow era, which was basically a dystopian racial nightmare for black people involving lynch mobs and burnings and terrorism that allowed white folks to take anything they wanted from us up and into, including our very lives. Let's not forget the New Deal reforms of which black workers were largely excluded. Let's not forget that the policies of redlining have drawn the borders of many ghettos today, and cycles of poverty have compounded just like cycles of wealth compound for those who have it. Then we got war on drugs, sentencing disparity between crack and powder cocaine, all up into broken windows, policing, stop and frisk, everything that leads us to this very day, which you say that DEI is unnecessary. See, here's the problem. When we mention all this history, you'd be like, I didn't personally do that. Yeah, you didn't found the company, but you're a stakeholder in whiteness. That's why you get offended when we be bringing up history, because you know that you benefited from it, even though you didn't do it. Because nobody taught you the emotional intelligence to distinguish between guilt and shame. You don't know what to do with being a stakeholder in whiteness. All you do is bury it in shame, rather than looking at the guilt, understanding that it's healthy, and investing yourself in righting the wrongs so they don't repeat themselves in history like they're doing now. Let me just cut to the chase of what's going to happen. They're going to look up a decade from now, and white net worth has taken these leaps and bounds forward, and black net worth going to be zero, and they're going to look around and be like, how did we get here? And it's going to be like, yeah. Racism didn't go away because you stopped tracking it. Your blind spot is big enough to drive a Tesla through and make me realize why y'all like Elon Musk so much. Elon Musk was asked by Don Lemon whether or not he thinks he benefited from his skin color. He said no. Elon Musk was born in 1971 apartheid South Africa. If Elon Musk had been born in the exact same year, in the exact same country, but on the other side of the color line, wouldn't be no Elon Musk. Elon Musk is one of them people who think black people shouldn't get reparations for slavery, even though slave owners got reparations for emancipation. Him and Donald Trump and MAGA have revived the stake of whiteness. It's at an all-time high, goddamn near, and y'all can't wait to cash it in. And that is the greatest threat to class solidarity that I can imagine. It is wild for me as a black man born in the class that I'm born into, looking at this white guy who got a lot of the same concerns as me, got liked a lot of the same things as me, can't see eye to eye with me because this MAGA whiteness token that's now really, really high value is in the way. I really read this anti-DEI push wrong. I read it as white supremacy. It's not. It's white separatism. I don't want to focus on hiring you, white separatism. I don't want to see if you're qualified for school, regardless of what you had to overcome, white separatism. Redlining you out of my community into poverty while I put big old gated communities around myself, white separatism. Broken windows policing, white separatism. Making sure that you are incarcerated at double the time for the same crime, white separatism. How many ways does somebody tell you that they don't want you around? And if black folks start doing for self and start talking about black first and black only, why would we be the ones that's called divisive in this situation? I would love a class solidarity movement, but the fact is, black median wealth is set to be zero by the year 2054, according to Forbes magazine, and that was before the pandemic and before this MAGA takeover. Based on the momentum of how America is going, I don't think black people have another 7 generations to survive here. And if we do, it's just more scraping at the bottom of the barrel, struggling to survive and get by, but not thriving here, if existing at all. Just because I would be okay doesn't mean I can be okay with only me being successful. But I'm a firm believer that forces out of our control are always conspiring in our favor. And if this anti-DEI push and white separatism means that they don't want black folks in America, maybe our highest good is to find another place to be. Because real talk, America's karma might be coming and the Most High want us out the way. That's just my thoughts. I'm Theo E.J. Wilson. Like, follow, share, and tell me what y'all think of these comments. Holla back.
Do you hate DEI? Congratulations, you're anti-racist. Can I put my glasses back on? In 2021, in their Q4 report, American Airlines instituted racial quotas, 53% white, when 75% of their applicants were white, meaning that they would have to deny 24%, basically 1 in 4 of their applicants, due to their skin color. Yes, you heard that right, denying someone due to their skin color. Their quota for hiring African American people, 16%. Guess how many of their applicants were African American? 3%, meaning that you would have to overhire, literally hire every single African American person that applies to your company, preferencing them because of their race. Literally against the Civil Rights Act, literal racism. If you hate DEI, congratulations. You're the new MLK.
Donald Trump got rid of DEI and affirmative action.
Do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing because we should hire people off merit and their skills. Instead, affirmative action gives unqualified people jobs.
Affirmative action prevents qualified people from being overlooked.
That's not even true! To prevent work discrimination based off of age, sex, or race. And hire on competence.
So what you're saying is exactly what affirmative action is for.
If that's true, then why am I being told people are getting hired for what they look like and not their skills? That I can't get a job because I don't look like them.
Because you're being lied to.
How am I being lied to? You're not getting into college because of affirmative action.
You're being told you can't get into college because of X, Y, Z.
I can't get into college because black people get in for free.
White women are the #1 recipients of affirmative action.
Wait, really?
But I never hear anything said about that. It's always directed to black people in college for some reason.
I was told even though I work hard, I can't get into college because black people get in for free. Doesn't affirmative action benefit them the most?
If black people are severely underrepresented in attending college, how is affirmative action benefiting the black most?
That's what I was told.
Wouldn't we dominate college?
But I was told affirmative action is the reason for all my problems and not rich people. Besides, if it's 2025, do we not need affirmative action because racism is gone?
Because you're looking past
I don't see
the racial ties and history behind America.
Racial ties and history behind America. Possibly think that discrimination still exists.
Apparently you don't think that women can lead.
Not as good as a man
start right there.
What do you mean? Men are clearly better workers than women. Black people don't earn any of their accomplishments. Neither of them deserve access to things I have access to.
Systemic racism is why you hold the beliefs you currently have.
You're saying I have cognitive bias and only see what I want to see. And systemic racism is solely based on a negative view of colored
people.
Aren't you mad
I understand you're just uneducated about these things. I can't take it personal anymore because there's so many of you.
What am I supposed to think when we get all these DI hires? The fire chief in LA, she clearly shouldn't have had that position.
Same with her last VP.
Giving people like that jobs they shouldn't have.
They need to work for
How can you defend
because
that?
Black people are not the root of all your problems. When you think DEI, you think black woman. Apparently, when you think of affirmative action, you think of black people, and we're not even the #1 recipients of it.
I understand what you're saying, but racism is over. Slavery ended so many years ago.
You understand segregation barely ended in 1964.
I can't wait for Trump to undo that. Just kidding, but I can't believe it was that recent. Isn't the segregation bill the Civil Rights Act of 1964
that's
Trump
the
amended?
exact bill Donald Trump is working at deconstructing.
Who needs equal opportunity? Once we have a merit-based economy, America will be great again, back to 1964. Or should I say 1963?
He just said he's going to fire all DEI hires in the government. How is he going to determine that? Who do you think of when you think of DEI?
I'm not going to lie. I instantly think of black women or women of color in general.
Okay.
It's too late! 2025! I can't wait till they get rid of black history out of school! Discrimination doesn't exist!
So they removed DEI and the white men still can't get into college. It dropped more. And it always makes me think, how many of our young black youths are in Mercer? Is that the name of it? How many of we see young black entrepreneurs, young black engineers? Like, we never was the problem. We never needed your handouts. We just wanted the same opportunities. We never needed your help. Y'all just always made it a problem for us to do it on our own because of the savior complex you guys were born with. And most people with savior complex have it because they're not needed. They need to feel needed. And I'm loving all of this. Y'all don't even know. I am loving it. I knew it. You still suck. And now y'all going what? Make laws again to bring us down so y'all can feel superior to anything instead of just being better fucking people.
Tell me that is not God that is fighting for Black Americans. Tell me, like, let me know, explain to me that this thing that is happening is not God that is doing it. You know, it started with welfare, and a lot of them were like, the people that are actually benefiting more from especially SNAP benefits are Black Americans, until we now get to the reality of seeing clearly when Trump actually started cutting at SNAP benefits, and a lot of them were not crying. A lot of them now realized that they are the one benefiting more. A lot of them now realized that without this SNAP benefits, in fact, they are not even going to survive it. A lot of them came online, cried. A lot of them came online, showed video of them going to SNAP benefit office and so on and so forth. That at the end of the day, they now realize that 70% of them were enjoying it more. Now we came to the EI, a lot of them were so happy when the orange man actually said every other stuff about DEI, right? And the way he was actually saying it, or the way they were actually going with it, the administration is actually going with it, we already know that they were literally doing all of that because they thought that Black people are really the beneficiary, Black people are the people enjoying it, Black people are the people that are really sitting on it. Until they now came to realization that every single thing they thought Black people were enjoying, Black people were single-handedly not enjoying anything. Now you can see from the percentage, even from the videos that I've been able to play to you guys, people that are really enjoying the SNAP benefits. You know, I keep saying this, put hand on your head and pray and tell God, Father, may I not do what will kill me. May I not do what will crush me. May I not do what will destroy me. Because it looks like every single time these people are trying to do something and make it look like Black people are the more beneficiary, they're trying to cut down a lot of things, it is affecting them more. It is telling on them more. They are realizing it more. They are understanding it more. And you know, they are knowing, no, the sweetest part is that by the time they are done doing it, that is when they will now come to realization and be like, we'll bite ourselves. We're not supposed to do that. We have literally scattered everything. That is when they will now come to that realization. But the moment they're coming to the realization, it is now becoming a waste of time, waste of effort, waste of every single thing. And you want to tell me that God is not doing it for Black people? I want to tell me that God is not coming through? Anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section. I just want to get your honest opinion. I want to hear from you. I want to hear what your take is on this. Like I keep saying, credit belongs to the original creator of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking my videos, sharing my videos, dropping commentaries, and dropping super thanks. I really do appreciate. I do not take you guys for granted. I wouldn't have been where I am today without you guys' help. God super bless you. Anyways, if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Do it, subscribe, like this video, drop me your comments, and lastly, do not forget to share for every other person to get this good news. And yes, guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like policy in my videos. I'm going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.